again, it's all about that trade or actually winning the fight without having to give up a trade here and there.
Well, we're going to go ahead and see how this one's going to pan out as we load on into Champion Select for Game 4. Talon have once again opted to stay on the blue side. AHQ will be on red, and it's again a Zillion ban here on the side of Talon, just respecting Apex's pool.
Is it going to be another Vel'Koz ban? Because for Talon, do you want to deal with Ziggs or Vel'Koz more? Or maybe just remove the Misfortune entirely, which has been that really scary late game objective AoE in the form of bullet time. And this is, we rarely see the Misfortune ban, and now we see it again.
I'm interested here. You also got the Syndra Varus ban on the side of AHQ. I was wondering for Talon, do they just go ahead and ban out the Azir and then force AHQ to have to decide if they want to give over the Aphelios? It does look like that is going to be their plan, as the Azir is going to be locked out away from Candy and Apex. And now for the side of AHQ, do they wish to allow the Aphelios through and let that be played by Unified, or are they going to try and really lock down a lot of the pocket picks? Looks like that's going to be the case as they ban it out, and that does mean for Talon, if they wish, Graves is available. It has made its way through the first draft.
And that is going to be the first pick for Talon, and it's going to be one of the, I think this is going to be the second Graves that we're going to be seeing in the PCS. And for AHQ, will they decide to match or probably get Kongye here on this Rek'Sai perhaps? As there are other things that on the table to be selected, and it seems to me HQ does really want to finish this game against Talon to get that 3-1.
We'll see now, as it's always been this Graves has been kind of the blue side ban as your third ban this time around. For Talon, they do have it in their pocket, so we'll see how well River is able to execute on it. Meanwhile, for AHQ, getting that Lee Sin for Kongye, and now maybe looking toward this Ezreal here for Wako.
Does Talon revert back to the usual Kalista since it's open? Unfortunately, it hasn't. It's great in securing objectives and shredding people down, but the window for you to sort of spike has been, I believe, matching what AHQ has, so it's a little bit too late. We'll have to see if that's going to be the case, because again, they have this Graves to fall back to in case that, the Senna doesn't just immediately gets obliterated, or it just didn't work out. Okay, Tom Kench
and go with the Kench as well. Maybe, or they could go with the Maokai. Maybe they just want some more engage lockdown, or have the ability to disengage, as it is going to get locked in. But we're already seeing, I was going to wonder if they wanted to go for the Kench, because if they went for the Kench, they wouldn't necessarily have a front line available to them. They would have just a safety net for one of these carries. With the Maokai, though, kind of does that, but also can act as that front line, as well as the engage. Does mean, though, for the side of AHQ, they can go ahead and lock in their support, and we could see the Ezreal Yuumi combo.
Yeah, it's going to be definitely painful, considering the cat can just latch on towards Lee Sin and perhaps get a good setup on your ult to get that hold in. But for Talon, yeah, they've managed to lock in this Maokai, considering that they need that front line, which means Hanabi could play on that bruiser again instead of the utility tank, unless Talon desires a secondary tank, considering Hanabi is going to be on this Graves, focused mainly on that backline.
All right, so LeBlanc going to get banned out here by AHQ, taking that one away from Candy. We could also see, we'll see whether or not Candy's pool is actually going to get, again, targeted here. With the fact that it wasn't locked in the first rotation, AHQ might try and lock things down, and that does mean that Apex, where he has, a couple of these pocket picks that hasn't been shown a whole lot, only, the Ziggs in the previous game, as well as the Azir, can always fall back on something like the Cassiopeia, maybe even possibly that Vel'Koz. We saw the ban that came out from Talon. We'll see here. Ornn also going to get banned out by Talon, trying to deny that one away from Ziv.
Yeah, considering Apex has such a big champion pool, we've seen him play a couple of times, maybe the Sylas in the mid lane being brought up, maybe even the Renekton. But now Zoe being banned out as well, Syndra out. So what does Talon fall back to as Corky's also out? Does someone play the Akali this time around and see whether or not Talon can survive? Maybe try and overwhelm AHQ with just damage? We'll have to see.
Oh, they might be looking here. We did see the Poppy hover earlier on in the night. I don't know if we're going to necessarily get it here, but we'll see. Is maybe opting in for the Jace. That does mean, though, for Talon that they do have the ability to counterpick this immediately. It can also be flex, though. This is the beauty of this pick. Apex could play it in the mid lane, or Civ could play it in the top lane, and Talon have to decide what matchup they'd rather have.
Yeah, perhaps it could be a flex pick as well when it comes to the mid lane and top, to see what matchup, to see whether or not Hanabi and Candy want to play the champion that they desire. And this works out because, yep, if you lock it in, oh, there you go. They doing it. They doing it.
All right, so you've always want 3 marksmen on your squad. Well, now you have it. Talon are going to be likely running now. The Lucian could possibly go top. It could go mid. We'll have to see the matchup they prefer to send this in, but this is gutsy from the side of Talon to be bringing this out. We talked about, hey, they might have some secrets. They might have some picks available to them. By showing this, it likely means it's going to be a Lucian top and Candy on the Galio in mid?
It checks out because you have too many carries on the side of Talon. You need that secondary front line aside from the Maokai. Good news is that that's going to be a funnel at least for this Maokai. So he's going to get tankier items sooner than the opposition. So that works out at least. And if they do lock this in, then perhaps that is going to be a Jace versus Lucian at top side.
So there you go. Cassiopeia going to get locked in, and now they kind of get to decide what they'd rather run these into. It could also be, you know, Civ running Cassiopeia. We've seen Cassiopeia top a couple times, a couple seasons back. Maybe it's a throwback. It makes a little bit more sense, of course, though, for Apex, as that is one of his, you know, pickups in the mid lane. It looks like that is going to be your roster here. Talon fighting for their life, bringing out the triple marksman comp for their 4th game here against AHQ.
I love it. I love it. Especially, again, it's just as you mentioned, it's a do or die situation. But with this, though, I am expecting them to be constantly ganking bot side to either just ruin the rhythm of Wako and Isera bot side. I guess since, you know, they still have a little bit of time, a bigger window, if you will, considering that's a Cassiopeia, wants the Archangel staff to stack up a little bit more and get a little bit more items in before Apex can be a little bit more impactful.
And we talked about earlier on in the night that Talon, they said they had some secrets up their sleeves. We'll see whether or not this is their solution, as they are now facing elimination from playoffs here in spring. They are not able to take home the victory. AHQ will advance to our grand finals tomorrow against Machi Esports. Talon want to try and run this back one last time. Get some silver scrapes played once again. And just try and extend our night as long as possible. It wouldn't be a Talon, it wouldn't be an AHQ series if it wasn't like that. We're going to go ahead, load on to the Red 4, Game 4.
Can you imagine that Talon, if they do make this stretch to Game 5, they've encountered 15 full games of all of their BO5s that they've encountered. It's pretty crazy, sounds pretty tiring, but now it's a different pressure, as it is them trying to save their lives here in the playoffs and continue and fight for that game number 5.
Yes, Talon, do it. I don't know what your plan is, but do it. 5 members onto Apex. I see it. I believe. Isera is nearby. He actually needs to be careful he doesn't get caught out here. But yeah, you mentioned they would in all 3 of their best of 5 series, they would have gone the full distance if they are able to win this game here. And then if you factor in the games they played in the upper bracket, they have played more games in playoffs alone than they did during the regular season round robin in 6 weeks. That's just how many games Talon have played.
Talon is insane. Like, their mental fortitude has been tested several times already. And now it is a completely different scenario. For Talon, this is, I guess, the first time in the entirety of the series where Hanabi opted to a little bit more of that carry or of that bruiser and not stick to that utility, leaving a little bit of a change in dynamics. And for example, Kendi, instead of that, the usual control mages that we see, he's now in one of the back in the tank utility duties to set up kills for River, Hanabi, and Unified.
And Hanabi, he wanted his 1v1 up in the top lane. Well, now he's got it. He's going to be playing the Lucian here. I believe this is another one of his unique picks. He gets pretty aggressive here. Civ just brings down the hammer. No level 2 for either side. Mid lane, no action just yet, but I'm expecting an explosive start, especially the fact that we have River now onto this Graves, which has been pretty much dominating solo queue for the last patch and has been non-stop pick or ban in a couple of other different regions, especially in some of the minor region leagues like the regional leagues over in Europe, where it's in EU Master, it's been 100% pick or ban.
Yeah, it's been quite impactful. I think it has something to do with a lot of viability in terms of builds. Like, I believe what we saw last time wasn't exactly the face rush when we saw the first Graves that we've seen. I believe it was from Ryan. We might see the first gank, actually. From the side of AHQ.
He's playing safe. He also has River nearby. And actually, River is going to be the one to be able to sneak on over here. Let's see, he's all right. Don't have any vision. He's going to come around toward the side and see Kongi actually taking his Krugs. And already, you can see Kongi has to respect this, it seems, as he's able to take that one back. It's going to be a tussle over Krugs at the moment. That's how aggressive these two teams are now. River wants to try and make a play. Civ underneath this tower. Do they actually want to try and go for this? It doesn't look like they will. Hanabi's just going to try and get a little bit of damage while he can.
This combo is insane. You have two ults coming from River and as well as Hanabi. Wow, River is tracking Kongi time and time again.
Mid lane, Apex is going to get caught out here. Nice combo comes out from Candy, and it forces him to have to back off and leave the tower, and River's able to take away the Raptor.
Yeah, beautifully done by Candy as well, not having to be in range of the tower. So any of the tower aggro makes it a really pretty good trade, considering Apex is forced to use all of his pots and Candy is still pretty much healthy. So this priority over from Candy gives more room for River to be bullying Kongi in his own jungle, as he's gonna try and make a little bit more impact here, as he will just traverse.
I'm just sneaking around the side, and it's enough to actually force Apex to have to respect this, as they're just looking to get a little bit of damage, a little bit of pressure. So I like this from River. Kongi is still in his jungle trying to farm what he can. That's the engage though, coming out immediately into the taunt, and Apex gets taken down. It's first blood going on over to River, and Kongi, he tried to get on top of River, but he ended up tagging Candy instead, and he's not able to trade back the kill.
Beautifully done by Talon here, and again, it just really slows down the growth of this Cassiopeia to make any sort of impact, especially in the first four objectives actually, which is the first two Rift Heralds, and as well as the Dragon, and that's going to be an easy taunt.
Yeah, that's what I thought. There was a teleport in top lane. Hanabi, does he want to go for the play? Has the flash available. We had that replay that came up for half a second. I saw a teleport, so Talon really being aggressive here. Looking for dives in top as well as mid lane. They're not going to be able to get a plate though, as the reduction of damage from the range is a little unfortunate there for Hanabi, so he can't really occupy this a whole lot. But so far so good for Talon. It's going to be 1,000 gold lead to start things off in the first 5 minutes.
Yeah, it's working out pretty well, which is quite similar to what we've seen in the first 2 games, except that this is definitely more focused on setting up killing Apex instead of setting up for Hanabi a top side in as well as bot to relieve pressure. So this is actually pretty good. A good start for Talon.
And that Graves is going to get pretty scary if he's able to continue getting kills. And you already see River you know, just sitting around that mid lane. And this is different because we used to never see River ever pay attention to mid lane, especially in the most recent series when picks have been something like a Zoe, a LeBlanc, or a Cork. He can't really do a whole lot here. The fact, though, that he's recognized, all right, this Cassiopeia, she doesn't have a whole lot of mobility. I have a Galio that has a taunt, a knock-up, as well as Flash still available. They feel very confident to try and do what they can to try and camp down this Cassiopeia early, as well as taking objectives on the map.
And if you get River ahead, it's just definitely going to be quite a huge problem for AHQ to deal with in comparison to when River manages to get ahead. He's definitely more of that front line to engage for the team. Now that's a little bit relegated to Candy now, and even stealing this blue buff once again, quite reminiscent of what we've seen in the previous game. And we'll have to see what AHQ decides to do, because again, they're the type of team that is used to this already during the whole series and still managed to grab certain victories at the past 2 games.
All this top lane, Hanabi's been able to find himself about a 2-wave advantage. Gets that level 7, wants to get very aggressive, has the culling available, and is looking to gun down Civ, gets the flash to reposition himself, and gets the 1v1 solo kill up in top lane.
Beautifully done by Hanabi. Even Ziv didn't have a flash as well to try and escape from that one. As the initial, I believe it was the first teleport that forced Ziv to flash. So this is actually a good setup for a kill. Ziv with no escape. And yeah, I feel like this could be a huge problem. In case the culling doesn't really finish off a certain target, you've got the collateral damage coming from River as well. And if that doesn't work, you have Unified's ult on the Senna. So there's just a lot of, you know, straight linear AoE that works well in either close spaces or maybe even during, you know, mid lane 5v5s tussles.
Yeah, meanwhile for AHQ, they're kind of in this weird scaling aspect where they're like, all right, we have tiers. We're going to try and, you know, stack them as fast as we can for this point, and Talon can be as aggressive as they wish to be on the map, and I think the question is, where is River going to try and strike next? The fact that there's also a Rift Herald available to them on the map as well, we might see them try and apply some pressure, but look at this. Konya's trying to get a little bit of a sneaky play here onto Hanabi. Hanabi's going to back off, it seems, as unfortunately for AHQ, they're not able to get the jump.
I think what has to happen is Talon should...
Oh, there we go. It's a flash taunt combo. There's nothing Apex can do. Hanabi still up in this top lane, has to be a little bit careful, does not have flash available, so Konya is able to finally find something on the map. It took him a while, but he was able to at least pay off with his patience as River's actually pathing toward the top side of the map, hungry for another kill.
Alright, okay, so the root will actually connect, but I don't think there's going to be a full committal. But yeah, that was insanely clean coming from Kanye and, or rather coming from River and Candy. In the meantime, Unified gonna be holding on to the Executioners to cancel out a little bit of the healing coming from the side of Sarah. I wanted to mention that for Talon, they do want to slow down the laning phase a little bit. But again, let's take a look at this clean initiation from Candy and River.
Yeah, unfortunately, Hanabi, when he doesn't have cash available, he's going to get taken down immediately. Did you see on your live feed, though, that was the Rift Herald secured by Talon, as River still made his way towards the top side of the map. So all is well when it comes to Talon's game plan, it seems here, is now if they really want to, they could try and find another quick pick, possibly in one of these side lanes, and try to then really open up a gold lead very early on in the game.
Yeah, especially that you do want to get that boost towards Hanabi. On top side, we can see how Snow Volley Illusion can get. And now that we've seen a couple of instances where Ziv is pretty much struggling, trying to keep even when it comes to the CS at least. But wave clear wise, once you use that Shock Blast, there isn't much to do unless you want to dive in and remove the wave.
You know, Shelly's going to get popped into the top side, and that should be enough to secure the plates here for Hanabi, as well as get first brick gold. Now that opens up a 3,000 gold lead for Talon before 12 minutes.
And this is a familiar lead that we've seen in the previous game. And now AHQ, bot lane, Wako and Isera is just trying to take advantage of how much sustain and how much poke they can do. And it's going to add to a little bit more on those stacks. And just as you asked earlier, where is the next visit? Where does River decide to go? As Dragon is going to be spawning in a few seconds.
And Kanye is at least going to try and get what he can, try and steal that away from River. But we wanted to see something different here from Talon when it came to Game 4. We needed to see some aggression, and, well, they drafted aggression. This is as aggressive as we can probably get out of Talon this entire time. You see Candy even using Protobelt just to clear the damn wave. And with that much pressure in mid lane, Apex is forced underneath his tower, and River and Candy Unified can go ahead and start up this Dragon. Even Hanabi coming down, because guess what? He already took the tower in top lane.
Yeah, and again, for Talon, this is quite reminiscent of what we've seen before, having to wait for the mana stacks, the tier stacks to finish between Wako and Apex to actually make a huge impact in objective contestants. Problem is, will AHQ go there in time? Because we've seen a couple of pokes already coming from... They're starting.
Oh, that's a lot being burned here. They're going to try and just jump onto Waco immediately. Over the wall they go. Candy is able to find the kill with the Proto Belt. And Talon able to collapse here onto the bot lane of AHQ as they're trying to path back toward their tower.
Nicely done coming from Talon, especially that, you know, what Wako wanted to do was just try and poke a little bit against Unified, force them to go back to base and possibly be a little bit late to lane. But unfortunately, that's not the case. Wako at least does have some teleport, so he's not going to lose a bit too much when it comes to the wave.
Here we go. We'll just take another look here. It's just actually that arcane shift is usually enough to be the go button, as Kaiwing was already there cutting off their path.
Yeah, and considering that he had to blow a flash as well, and there's a ton of CC to work with too, with the root from the Maokai and as well as Unified's W. And again, it's Talon playing around with the chain CCs to immediately burst someone down. And burst they have in the form of, you know, River and Hanabi as well.
And you take a look at this composition from AHQ, and you know the fact now that there's a Mountain Soul where Talon has been able to just kind of run wild and start securing dragons left and right. Mountain Soul really messes with AHQ's composition, because you're just looking at Coke pretty much coming out from Civ as well as Wako, hoping that you can try and, you know, shred down some of these members before you go for a full commit. If they just have a Mountain Soul, though, on the side of Talon, they're able to just eat up that damage through the natural shield.
Yeah, and Talon has been getting the dragon every single time it has spawned, so that speeds up the timer a little bit. So with that little bit of rush, will Wako and Apex get to their item spikes in time? That would be the definite question, as this tower has been slowly being chipped down a little bit, with Candy always having priority. And now the question is, where is River's next move?
See, River's already pathing. It looks like they just want to try and get set up possibly for this dragon. It's still a little bit early. The reset is, you know, you're still looking at 90 seconds before the spawn before you really want to try and do this. Meanwhile, Hanabi still up in that top lane, has finished off his Bork as well, so has a little bit built-in sustain when it comes to the kit. He's going to be pretty happy with himself, and poor Ziv is, well, he's pretty much relegated to try and roam around the jungle, hoping he can find a pick, try and find something elsewhere on the map, as Hanabi just gets the push in on top lane.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things where, okay, please get the red for me, I suppose, since it might get stolen by River, since I'm over here at bot side. I assume that was red, that's the reason why he was lingering around the area. You almost at least completed for Ziv, so that's added safety to the Jace, at least, when things go not so well, considering River is lurking around that top side.
See here, River and Hanabi are just going to go ahead and apply pressure toward the top side of the map. You also have to factor in that there's going to be the second Rift Herald of the game that Talon can start setting up upon. If they really want to open up the game, that's one way to do it. You do see Kanye looking to at least maybe path toward the bot side of the map, knowing that the Maokai is alone. Kaiwing, though, does have teleport available, so if he wants to join a fight on the top side of the map, it's not an issue. And you kind of see that AHQ are kind of conceding as much as they can. There's going to be a point, though, that they have to, you know, make a stand here, or Talon's just going to continue to run over them.
And Apex has no teleport, so this means a free push from Candy in the mid lane, as Apex will try to manually walk back to the lane.
Oh boy.
Okay,
Ziv almost gets taken down. It was close. Culling wasn't able to finish it off as Culling came in for the safety, but that is going to be the second Rift Herald now secured for Talon.
Sarah having the Crucible for the countless amount of CC that Talon has. So that's going to be an added safety considering Wacko is on that flash teleport, not necessarily on that flash cleanse. But now, 20 seconds on the clock for the Baron to spawn, for the Dragon to spawn rather, and Talon is on their way on that third Dragon. So for AHQ, they do have that head start at least position-wise, since at least they can manage to deal poke here and there in the form of the Jace and as well as the Ezreal. They have to be careful though with such hard engage that Talon has.
Here we go though, AHQ. Looked like they found an opening, and this is a really good takeaway for their side. Instantly trying to burst this down immediately. Talon though are starting to look to collapse. That's already going to be the Maokai ultimate being used. Hero's entrance also nearby, not able to find anyone, and AHQ were able to run away from the ensuing fight and take away the mountain from the side of Talon.
Kaiwing on the side, trying to find a target perhaps. But yeah, it was the Crucible that definitely saved Wacko on that Maokai route, and now that's the second Rift Herald being laid and summoned. As we'll have to see if there's going to be a lot of value with the second charge, perhaps, as PI isn't able to be eliminated. So there, Talon gets another huge chunk of damage on this inner tower.
So AHQ, they're able to find a little bit of a silver lining in the issue. They're able to catch Talon off a bad setup for a Mountain Drake, which Talon should be able to get pretty easily, but it just seemed like they were just not in the right position for the spawn. With that, they're able to delay a possible Mountain Soul if Talon are able to continue up this pace, where they were looking at securing that about 23 minutes. Now it gets delayed to about 28. So for AHQ, it gives them a little bit of timing, gives them a little bit of window to try and get Talon to make some mistakes. This will be, though, the third tower of the game. And Hanabi is starting to get a massive gold advantage over Civ, as I believe this is going to be his second, possibly third tower of solo gold being pumped into this Lucian.
It's definitely going to be painful if you pair that up with River as well. So it's all about that perfect setup for Candy and Kaiwing to chain their CCs and for the rest of the carries to chain their damage. But good news for AHQ. You got at least the Seraph's Embrace for Apex, so that's going to be a little bit added survivability. And Wacko as well opting for that Gauntlet, so that's going to be very helpful trying to kite such high mobile picks from the side of Talon, such as the Lucian and as well as River. So it gives a little bit room for the Mystic shots to land as well.
So you got some scaling here on the side of AHQ, at least for this Ezreal, as well as the Cassiopeia. Come online a little bit later on during some of these fights. We'll see, though, it's still a 5,000 gold lead here for Talon. 2.5 minutes for the next Mountain Drake. See, Hanabi, you gotta be a little bit careful in the side lane. Apex might position himself to try and get a little bit aggressive here. Get a slow there onto the Ezreal, but no root is going to connect from Unified. As Talon just continue to apply pressure up on the top side of the map, siphoning gold away from Kongu where they can through this jungle. As River has been farming up an absolute storm. He's picked up his second item, Black Cleaver. And Civ got to be careful here. He could get dove if he's not careful. Maokai is also going to show. Rather risky for him to stay this long, but still wants to try and go for this. We take a look at the gold graph. Hanabi currently sitting at the top there with a, well, that's about a 2,200 advantage over the Jace.
Well, they have a lot of, you're right, they have a lot of scaling in the form of Cass and as well as Ezreal, at least, to some extent. Especially we've seen, I think this is the fourth time we're going to be seeing, or fifth time, Ezreal on the, Wacko on the Ezreal, rather. As HQ is trying their best to find at least maybe a pick, but Talon's coverage over that top side has been very important to just avoid that sort of HQ. They do have all teleports intact, but how do they utilize that, as next Mountain Drake will be spawning in 60 seconds or so. So let's see if Talon gets that early setup considering for Talon, Candy has already that Zanya's completed. Glaive completed as well for Unified. Sunfire to make Kaiwing a little bit of extra tankiness versus Ziv and Wako when it comes to the team fight.
You would like to see, there's the pings coming out, so Talon know they need to start making their way down into this Dragon area. Next 40 seconds, Hanabi's just going to try and get some pressure, at least where he can. There is also a TP ward in behind AHQ if they decide to actually go for it. As a decent amount of damage comes out onto Unified. Still just the center though, so be able to heal that back up. Not a huge issue. But that amount of poke might be enough here. They got to try and make something happen. Wako's just zoning them out. Hanabi wasn't able to get much of a push. Meanwhile, topside, it's Candy pushing in hard. So that's going to be the play here. Talon are looking to force AHQ to try and commit onto a fight. They don't see that control ward in their jungle, and Candy's going to get a free push here onto the second tier tower.
I'm worried. Kaiwing has his flash up. There could be a flash route.
There you go. Teleport coming in immediately. That's going to be a double teleport, but maybe he didn't need to go in. Candy's going to be the one in the back line. Kaiwing's just going to try and do what they can to interrupt it. Candy gets a decent amount of damage. They're not able to take down Ziv. There it is. Senna ultimate also comes on through. Now the calling coming out from Hanabi, and they're able to find the knockup as Apex gets taken on down. There's the follow-up, and just like dominoes, it's AHQ slowly starting to crumble as Talon find 3 kills before the Dragon.
No, Talon change targets. You know what? Maybe Wako is in front of us, but it don't matter because they've got eyes on something else, as that's 3 picks eliminated out of HQ. And this is the call for Baron. This time around, they're incredibly healthy. There's a lot of death timers involved. But teleport-wise, it is still available for the side of Ziv and Apex. This is a little bit scary.
And instead of opting for this secured, easy, no takeaway Dragon, they decide to go for this Baron. And we have seen this 2 times already during this series. Unified gets chunked down low. This is a very slow Baron take. They have to commit for this. True Shot Barrage comes on through. Over the wall they go. Kongi wants to try and steal away, but he gets denied by River. And it's going to be Baron in favor of Talon. Civ going down extremely low, but he'll get taken down to the edge of his teeth, able to survive. The exhaust is there. Hanabi gets himself back to safety. And Talon, they're playing with danger, but they're able to survive and come away victorious with the Baron. AHQ going to try and at least chase them down while they can. Game over being flashed there by Apex. Waco maybe going a little bit too far forward. Chalk Blast not going to connect. And it's going to be Talon able to survive and take the Baron.
That was AHQ hoping that they could replicate the Baron interrupts for the past 2 games that they had to encounter. And it all started here at this Dragon Dance, and unfortunately Kaiwing had a really nice teleport in. Ziv unable to create much impact into that fight, and with that everyone is pretty much sandwiched into Candy just blocking their escape path here.
Yeah, and they get themselves 3 kills in the end, but of all the things to do, they then, instead of opting for the Mountain Drake that they now are taking over on the live feed, they went for another Baron, and this is still a 50-50 Baron. This looks super dangerous with the fact that Kongi was able to get into the pit with the Baron only having 2,000 health.
Yeah, and the Shock Blast immediately chunks Unified to half HP, and the True Shot Barrage too made it even more painful. Unfortunately, the chain CC coming from the side of Talon didn't do really as much for Kongi to get any sort of opportunity to steal. And here we go, it is the sieging time for Talon.
So there we go. Talon with an 11,000 gold lead here in Game 4. They were facing elimination. Now are trying to tie us back up 2-2, force those silver scrapes. Senna ultimate comes out. Not enough to take down the kill, as Civ is able to survive with just 200 health. They try to engage here on the Candy in mid lane, but not able to finish him off. And like that, Talon are going to continue the push down in bot with these Baroned up minions.
Looking pretty solid for the side of Talon, is able to actually remove at least the inner tower in the bot side of the map. Unfortunately, since they got that reset, they have to not get as much of expected value, especially when it comes to maybe the inhibitor towers. But there's still a lot of respect, considering that, again, after getting the lead, they've managed to not secure those wins. So they're playing a little bit more careful now in comparison to the previous 2 games.
seeing here, I have to wonder, what does Talon bring out if they're able to force a Game 5? I don't know if you can get this Graves once again. I don't know if you're going to be able to get away with a draft like this once again. Maybe this is just enough to reinvigorate them, to give them the energy they need to try and take Game 5, and they're just trying to extend this as long as possible to tire out AHQ mentally after a very long day, as that Baron buff nets them a 3,000 advantage on top of the original take. They sit 12,000 gold ahead of AHQ at 27 minutes. Mountain Soul will be available in 2.5. And I think with that, that's a real nail in the coffin here for AHQ, unless they're able to somehow stall out this game to an insane amount of time where they're able to get an Elder Drake out of it.
At this point, it is actually quite possible. There is a ton of pull coming from the side of AHQ, and for them to just for Talon to have that hard engage, they have to rely on Kaiwing getting that root at least, or perhaps a taunt from Candy. So we'll have to see if that is going to be the plan in mind, considering that perhaps Talon would wait for the next Baron to spawn to see if they can siege a second time. So for now, in terms of items, at least for River, he has the Maw. So in case things go a little bit sticky when Apex is the only one left, he can at least survive a little bit of the damage. But Rylai's and Seraph's Embrace completed, so that's also added survivability and sustain when it comes to the team fight. So I feel like Apex will play a huge role to long, drawn-out fights.
HQ have a chance to at least back off. They're trying to defend all their ways while they can. Meanwhile, Hanabi's now finished off his Essence Reaver. And Dragon spawns in about a minute for AHQ. They were actually lucky enough not to lose out on any inhibitor towers during that Baron push. So for them, there's still a little bit of hope that they could try and stall this out long enough. Talon's going to go back into the farm game. River continues farming away. Also has finished off his Maw to soak up some of the damage that's going to be coming out from Apex. And for HQ, it's kind of looking for a perfect fight in your favor. Somehow you have to keep Apex and this Ezreal alive long enough, or you have to somehow burst down Hanabi and River before the fight can even begin.
And there has been an answer already for those, anti-healing on the side of basically more on Unified side, in the form of that Executioners, at least again cancel the sustain coming from this Yumi pickup. Maybe a little bit more on a little bit as well for Apex. More completed too for Wako, so that's a little bit of fighting power and sustain when it comes to the team fights. And right now, HQ will decide to be a little bit more reactive, maybe set up death brushes and baits.
There we go. Talon are the ones that are going to go ahead and start up this Dragon. Hanabi can solo it pretty fast. HQ, they're going to try and collapse, but guess what? Talon are able to cut them off immediately. Hanabi has disengaged the Dragon, and Talon, I've never seen a team not wish to take Dragon when they have a prime opportunity to take it. Finally, it looks like that seems to be the play. I think they're worried that AHQ could easily try and just rush down the Baron, but it's not going to be the case. Mountain Soul secured for Talon, as they can now withstand some of the poke that's going to be coming out of AHQ.
Yep, and that's absolutely in their favor, as, yeah, you mentioned, there's a ton of poke in the form of this Jason as well as for Wako, which they will definitely heavily rely on before they actually press that go signal to pursue any sort of chase. And with that said, Talon can now go back to their usual game plan of baiting out Baron, since they have that soul, they have a little bit of more shield to withstand any sort of poke coming from AHQ.
Do they really need to bait out a Baron fight at this point? You're up 11,000 gold. You have Engage available to your team. You take a look at AHQ, like this is one thing we didn't get to really mention during the draft. What CC is there for AHQ that can be used for Engage? Pretty much none, unless you're going to have an Ezreal flash or Arcane Shift forward with a Yumi ultimate. Talon have the tools to just end this game when they wish. So it's up to them to say, all right, we do not wish to play any more League of Legends and get set for this damn Game 5. HQ, though, still being gutsy enough to at least check these brushes and try and lay down some vision will they can.
Yeah, it feels like the combo that you want to do is Sarah latching on towards Kongyue and maybe use him to push forward, maybe even Ziv as well for the dive. Problem is, they're pretty painful right now as River hoping to get a bit of autos and chase towards Kongyue. Again, this is the usual bait as Hanabi is pressuring bot side, and he does have teleport. Actually, everybody has teleport on the side of AHQ as well.
I'm just shocked they didn't actually try and go for the play there, because Candy had Flash available, he had Justice Punch. He could have actually went into the choke point Kongyue and Ysura were trying to jump through. That would have been 2 kills easy, and Talon could have went for Baron if they really want to do this Baron. There are opportunities for Talon to actually close out this game a lot faster. They're just not doing it, and this has been an issue with Talon before. This is them playing slow when we just need to see them just say, hey, we want to play League of Legends, just end the game. We're kind of
And it makes me wonder, yeah, it makes me wonder if the first 2 games where they had an early lead and kept pushing with their lead managed to make sort of a mental impact to being a little bit more restrained when they want to go, but they remember the first 2 games and maybe never mind. Let's just focus on the objectives and maybe wait for them to make a mistake instead.
Here we go. Baron is started. It's a rather slow one between him and Candy. Kongyue is looking at this. Hanabi is down in bot lane. AHQ, they decide to let them go, but also Talon decides to just back off the Baron. And we do this little dance once again. Oh, here comes a collapse, and they get on top. Apex gets a decent amount of damage, but unfortunately, they're just not able to just blow up River in time. Has a decent chunk going on for Yako. They do also have Hanabi on the top side of the map, so if they want to, they can go ahead and rotate back toward the Baron to try and start this up.
Morella completed for a Candy. Gonna help out a little bit on the damage department for at least the magic side of things. And now, it's another Baron being started. Opal for AHQ.
For AHQ, can they actually get this steal? They're taking their sweet time with this. Kongyue's going to show himself over towards the side. Can they actually get the stun? It doesn't matter. The Baron's already fallen, and now Talon are looking to close out the game. Candy goes on a rampage. They're able to take down the Lee Sin, and in comes that big teleport. It's Candy, able to find himself a taunt, not able to find the knock-up immediately. Ysera's going to be able to jump off, and it's just Wako at least trying to soak up the wave as much as possible to try and deny this, but now he's going to get hunted down at this point. Unfortunately, there's nowhere left for him to run. Ysera gets taken down. Get the Silver Scrapes ready, because baby, we're going to a Game 5.
And history repeats itself. Talon managed to survive and reset their mental fortitude after coming from a 2-loss streak in this BO5. And just as you mentioned, they're taking the stretch all the way downtown.
And with life, there is death, there is taxes, and there is Game 5s with a best-of-5 series when Talon is involved, making it 3 back-to-back as they force the issue, and unfortunately for AHQ, they just weren't able to handle the new draft. Game 5, here we go.
I am sweating for AHQ because they're in the same spot again of having that check on the series in general, and Talon just denies that win again to move on to the next round. And right now it's looking really solid for Talon in general, and this is the mistake we start to see where for AHQ sometimes they would draft certain compositions where it's a little bit linear to not be able to fight early game, and sometimes it's a little bit too late.
Yeah, this is absolutely ridiculous. How does Talon keep getting away with this? This is now the 3rd back-to-back Game 5 they have had in the playoffs. They have played more games in playoffs than they did in the regular season, and there's still the possibility they have to play another best-of-5 series if they're able to take home the victory against AHQ here.
Yeah, I feel like Machi watching this again, you know, they are most likely preparing themselves for another BO5 for Talon if they take this home, because if we look at it, we haven't really seen Machi and AHQ duke it out on a best-of-5 just yet.
Yeah, let's go ahead and take a look back toward this big flank that actually came out from the squad here of Talon. They got the double teleport, and they were able to get the choke point here in the jungle.
Yeah, and there's just a lot of CC lock, and CC lock with damage, by the way, considering that is the Galio. Earlier on, there's just a ton of burst if you land all of your combos. And the follow-up damage coming from Talon too. I did joke a bit to overwhelm AHQ with pure damage, and it worked out still in their favor with a good balance of Candy on CC duty and is alongside Kaiwing.
Yeah, and I gotta ask now, does AHQ let this draft go through once again? Are they gonna draw bans here onto some of these picks from Talon, or do we see another change-up possibly? Do we see Apex get subbed down? They're gonna put in Uniboy once again. The question is up in the air. What is the plan here for AHQ? Because this series was in their grasp, and this has happened multiple times this split, where multiple times this playoffs, where they have had the advantage, they can close out the series, and they get forced to a final game.
That's the thing. It is definitely reminiscent of the first BO5 that we've seen between these two. And you mentioned it's going to get mentally taxing, considering you had to go through one series today and enter into the best of 5 series. And with that said, I will hope to see AHQ draft a little bit more in towards having all faces secured, because when we look at the mid lane and bot side, they aren't really in a position to contest any of the first 4 objectives in the map.
Well, let's see here. MVP, it's going to go over to Candy. Oh, yeah, I don't care. Give it to anyone. Talon were able to take home the victory. I think that's the biggest thing we took away from this one, because, oh my lord. Whew.
Yeah,
they were able to force this. And this goes alongside with just the combo. It was him and River really pressuring Apex, and unfortunately, it feels like that Cassiopeia pick was just one of the bigger faults there. It was like, oh, this Cassiopeia will be able to carry. Well, if there's heavy engage on the side of Talon in any form, she's not going to have a good time.
Yeah, and considering there's not a lot of options too when it comes to who your frontline is going to be for the side of AHQ, so with such overwhelming damage, it seems to me the tactics of Talon is just bulldoze their way to victory, and that's practically what they did for game number 4.
Now, I don't know whether or not they're going to be able to do the exact same thing when it heads into Game 5 here in particular, because I feel like AHQ may have, you know, started to go, oh, okay, we probably won't let that go through the pick and ban phase once again. Maybe we've learned our mistake. For Talon, do they still have another trick up their sleeve, or are they going to resort back to a more standard composition and see whether or not they are able to take home the victory over AHQ? Because overall, I've been absolutely shocked with just the ability for Talon to have the resilience to keep these series alive. And you know what's coming up? We're playing the Silver Scrapes. We're going to go for one final break before we head into Game 5 to see who will advance to the Grand Final.